everybody have their drinks and ready to go? Let's kick it off.
Absolutely.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm CJ Warrant, author of dark romantic suspense, thrillers, contemporary romance, and male-male romance. My cohort, Rochelle Bradley, is an author of romantic comedies, contemporary, and paranormal romance. I want to welcome our special guests here today. We have first the award-winning multi-genre author Allie Cole, who was created in Hawaii and has traveled the U.S. in search of mystical creatures and pretty things. She currently resides in Tennessee with her family and dogs, and we're going to talk about your paintings a little bit later. Our next special guest is Christina. Let me see if I say it right. Consolino. All right, I botched that up.
It's okay. It's Consolino.
Consolino. Okay, I'm half Italian. I shouldn't be able to get this, and I didn't get it. I apologize. She is a writer and editor whose debut author is Rewrite the Stars, and it was named the 10 finalists of the Ohio Writers Association of Great Novel Contest in 2020. She loves warm cups of coffee, good books, and a long run outside. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you being here.
Thanks
for having us. Oh my God, I apologize that I totally messed up your name. I'm pretty good about that, and it's like,
don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Okay, first morning question of the day is, what do you guys like to drink?
Allie, I'll let you go.
I mean,
are we just talking in the morning? I mean, if alcohol is your preference, so be it.
I'm not quite there yet, even though I am dealing with a bunch of moves and house buyings and stuff. But no, first thing in the morning, I start off with a can of soda. I'm a zero sugar, so whether it's Coke or Pepsi, I really don't care. But I switched to zero sugar, so I get my caffeine, but I have to have something nice and cold to just wake me up.
Huh. I'm pretty much the opposite of that. This is like my little, one of my favorite mugs here. And I
love it.
Isn't it lovely? I get up early. I have a cup of coffee, but it's not fully caffeinated because if I drink fully caffeinated coffee, I fall asleep. I literally do. I will fall asleep. So, but then, it's 11 o'clock and I'm still heating up the same cup of coffee. So,
yes.
But it works.
By me, it's only 10, so I still have the coffee going on. This is like my third cup. If I don't have, and the thing is, I'm the same with Allie. I am zero sugar, but in the morning, I have to have a little Splenda or a little stevia in the raw. It just kind of binds it up all together, and then I'm good. And then the rest of the day, I drink water. There you go.
That's my animal cracker that goes with my coffee.
What about you? Can you hear us? Rochelle. Oh, okay. For a second there, I thought, okay. I thought you didn't hear us.
I had I had to take my daughter to work. She works retail, so, they're opening earlier and earlier, and she goes in early. And so I stopped by a local coffee shop, which is, I guess it's more regional than local. It's Winans, because I know they're in Columbus and they're up north and stuff, but I think they're pretty much Ohio. But they have specials now for the season. And this one was called sugar cookie latte. So it's almond and French vanilla.
Oh, was it good?
So, yeah, it's pretty good.
Okay.
I get it half sweet because I don't do sugar as much, so I can't taste it as well. But it smells better
I think
than it
we
tastes.
lost.
If that's you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I think we lost Allie. Oh, there we go. There she comes. Okay.
So sorry, guys.
Sorry,
my earbuds died on me.
I'm like, what happened? She's gone.
Yeah, my earbuds died and it tried disconnecting. I'm like, stop that.
I had that happen to me too. So let's start off with Allie. What do you write, and how many books do you have out there?
Yeah, so I've written 11. I just released my 11th on October 12th.
Awesome. Congrats.
Thank you. But I ended up switching from my legal name to a pen name. So I only currently have, I believe, 3 up on Amazon right now, because I'm in the process of doing the reformatting and recovering, and you know the headache. But I write a little bit of everything. I started in YA fantasy. I've done, all ages. I've done adult fantasy. I've done paranormal horror, a dystopian, and now currently, I just did a Chicklet novel,
Oh,
which
I
is
saw
actually
that. I
going
love the
pretty well.
cover. I love the
Yeah,
cover.
thank you.
Are you traditional? I mean, were you traditional in the beginning and
No,
decided to
actually,
go indie, or?
I started as an indie, self-published, and then about 2 months after I released my debut novel, I was contacted by a small publisher online, and they were out of the UK, and I signed with them, and I was in contract with them for about a year, but then there was, um, you know, things that happened, and I ended up leaving the company. Um, they broke contracts, so I got out, whatever. And then I continued on my self-published journey, and I haven't really done anything else since. Like I like sticking as a self-published author.
Nice. Nice.
I was hybrid at one point, and I finally got all my rights back. And yeah, I really prefer the indie. I have so much more control. I have total control, and not having to worry about anybody else making the decision and working the timeline and stuff like
Though
that.
I'm not
It
gonna
gives me
lie.
heart palpitations.
If Netflix came up to me and said, "Can I buy the rights to your book?" I'd be like, "Have it."
Well, that's different. If Netflix did that for us, I think we couldn't say no. Well,
Right.
you know. What about
Yeah.
you, Christina?
So I have one book out now. It's called Rewrite the Stars. It's this little paperback right
Oh,
here.
that's cute.
It's women's fiction, and it's with a small publisher. I'm the sort, it takes me a really long time to write. Not the draft. The draft is out. I'd love to do nano. I'm kind of like Rochelle, get the draft out. But then my writing process takes years. And so this book, Rewrite the Stars, came out, it came out in March, but it started in 2012. So I need to speed up
Oh,
my
wow.
I need to
Wow.
speed up my process. I mean, I have a lot going on. I do other things, but so I have one published book right now, but I have, 8, 9 drafts sitting there on my desktop. So I need to speed that up. And I've been happy with the small publisher right now for me. Kudos to people who do self-publishing. I just wouldn't be able to find the time, and I would have to do the learning the way I want to do it. So I'm not going to say never though, because many people I know are self-publishing and they just sing the praises. And I think, well, that's great because they have fewer, at least in my opinion, I have heard fewer complaints from the self-published authors than I have the traditionally published. So.
I think it's like the timeline.
I think we're
Timeline
just
is
too
one thing.
tired to complain by the end of the day.
It could be it.
And then some.
Yeah.
Now you also edit though. You are an editor.
I
So
do.
do you edit for this smaller company or?
I don't. I do freelance editing, and I have a couple of like repeat clients who keep me relatively busy. And I do some work for a hybrid publisher, which has been eye-opening just in terms of learning the publishing industry. But I at the heart of me, which I never thought I would say this, I'm a teacher. And I didn't, I walked away from teaching a couple years ago, and then I just keep getting sucked back in. And it's like, I think that's just who I am. And so now I'm trying to balance the editing and the teaching. It makes me, I think, a better editor and a better teacher, to be honest with you.
What grade is it?
Well, right now, I used to teach at the college level. Now I'm doing,
Okay.
yeah, which I loved, and it was science. But now I don't know if everybody has this in their school systems, but we have what's called home instruction. And some kids who need, if they have, let's say there's one student who I might be working with who's in the hospital. So he can't go into the classroom. There are a couple students for whatever reasons, like in terms of anxiety, they can't go into the classroom. So I meet at the library and we kind of work one-on-one. And I just think, oh, this is really my calling because I really enjoy working with these students. So
Right.
that's
More
nice.
power to you.
Especially
I knew when I was 12 years old that I would never be able to be a teacher or in that kind of field.
Yeah.
So more power to you. I couldn't do it. I can't do kids.
You know, there are so many things I wouldn't be able to do. So like that's one of them. I'm just gonna. I figure if it brings me joy and hopefully I'm helping somebody. But I do love editing, and so that's why I'm kind of trying to hold on to both. So
I am not, I hate editing. The editing process for me is like pulling teeth, hair, and everything else you could think of in between. I cannot stand it because I love to, from start to finish, I'm a total pantser. Except for my characters. I do plot out my characters themselves, but the actual storyline and everything, I am a total pantser. But
I'm exactly like you with that.
Yeah. I cannot, I sit down, it's like, okay, I have to like, all right, let's do it, let's do it, let's do it, let's get that editing done, and it's like, kill me now.
That's why I love my editor. I will do a quick proofread, send it off to her, pay her the big bucks to make me look good.
yeah.
You know, like I freelance formatting on the side. So I love doing that. To me, that's like adult coloring, super soothing.
Yeah.
But editing, oh no, I will pay my editor to make me look better because I don't want to touch that at all.
You know, I gotta say, let's touch on that a little bit of the editing. You know, I myself do the process of going from traditional to indie, finding the right editor. You know, it has been it has been a journey through this. It is like wave after wave, and you give them your baby, you trust them, and then I had one book, and I hate bringing this up, but I had one book. I was like so proud of it, went through the edits. You can't see sometimes your own errors, right?
Right.
So I'm like, okay, went through the editor, everything looks good, go publish it, right? And then I get a ding, huge ding. They're like, there's like over 50 errors. And I'm like, joke, what? It just went through an editor. It should have been all through. So I pulled it, had somebody look at it, and sure enough. And these were like little dings. These are not like huge things. Well, a couple of them were a little bit, but no plot issues or anything like that. It's more grammatical aspects, right? I'm like, why can't they see that? You know what I mean? That's why I paid you big bucks for it.
Right.
It's hard.
Editors are humans too, and you got to remember that, you know, doing their first pass, their brains are also trained still to, you know, look over those small errors, which is why I love my editor, because not only will she do like her first pass through, but before she sends it to me, she goes through it again. After a couple of days of a break, so goes through it again to double check and make sure that, you know, she finds those types of errors. Because I was just like, I tried with a different editor a long time ago, and I had the same problem. You know, I had an editor who, you know, I thought was great, and then all of a sudden I'm getting messages, oh my gosh, error, oh my gosh, error, like you have this misspelling, and wait, this word is missing out of the sentence, you know, things like that. And now the one I have, it was a process and a lot of interviews, and she's amazing. I love how they do the multi-pass and double check, because, I mean, they're human too, so.
And I totally get that. It's just, you know, as a journey for somebody that's getting into writing, what kind of advice? I think you kind of said it, Allie. It just, you have to kind of test the waters, and you have to turn around and do the interviews and talk to them.
Well, yeah, you do. And that's the important part. You know, you don't want to just hire somebody because they're your friend on Facebook, or you know.
Or give it to your mom.
Right.
Unless your mom
never trust your family. I don't care how many English classes they've taken. They'll just put it through the Word or something, you know. But really, and that's where, as a self-publisher, that's where I spend the bulk of my cost, is in editing. I will hire a professional editor. I held an interview day, just like normal things. You know, I'm hiring for this position. Give me a sample. I will send you a sample chapter. You edit it. And then that way I can see, do I like their editing style? How thorough are they? Whatever have yous. And then you go back and, hey, you know, I'm going to go a different direction this time. Or, hey, I'd really love for you to take a look at this. You know, let's see if we can work out something. I'd like to hire you. So
a lot of
it was a process, but it was worth it.
They give you like a free so many words that you can see. If and you know, I'm like, well, do you put errors in there to see if they get it, or do you just give them as your manuscript?
So what I did was actually just like literally take a chapter out of this book and sent it to them. And it was always some editors wanted, I like to do the beginning of the book. Some editors want to do a chapter from the middle of the book because they want to, they don't want to sit there and wait for you to hash out the story. They want to be able to get dialogue. They want to get all the different parts of the story in there.
That makes sense.
It's best to grab like a chapter out of the middle of the book and just hand it to them and be like, you tell me what you find, and then go from there.
What about you, Christina? How is your process during the editing service and stuff like that?
Most exactly that, because I find that I'm not always going to be the best fit for somebody, right? So I always offer, complimentary edit. And it doesn't matter what they send to me. And I just it doesn't matter if they're saying I want developmental edit or copy edit. I will write down in the margins what I see that needs to be addressed. Because even if you're doing a proofread, if you see something that you're like, this doesn't jive, you as the editor, you need to let the person know that, So, but that's pretty much it. I think that's it in a nutshell. And I find that the one thing I tell prospective clients is don't be afraid to push back a little and say, can you explain this if you're not sure? Because the editor should be very clear on what they're trying to tell you to do. And communication is big. If they're not getting back to you within a timely fashion, just run, because that's going to mean something. If they, and
exactly.
So.
And then I always I know this is silly, but it actually made a lot of sense to me. So I would ask when I was interviewing, ask them what style manual they use. I don't really care what style manual they use.
Oh, I never thought to ask that.
You want to ask what style manual they use, because that proves right there. It doesn't matter which one they use. It really doesn't. But if they know what a style manual is, they're a professional editor.
Right.
If they don't know what a style manual, I actually had an editor reply back to me and say, "What do you mean? What's a style manual?" And I'm like, I think we're gonna go different directions.
Wow.
It doesn't even matter what style manual they use, but as long as they know what it is, okay, they're at least somewhat of a professional.
Right. I never thought about that. That's never entered my mind, but that is really good to know.
Oxford comma, or you're not friends with the Oxford?
Right.
I am 100% Oxford comma. I love the mug. Oxford commas. So a lot of my writing, even though my characters, a lot of my locations that they go to, or they're filmed, written in, is overseas in the UK. Like I'm in love with the British language and the way they know the English language. I mean, literally came from there, but I can't stand how Americans have decided to change literally everything. I love being American, don't get me wrong, but it annoys me. There are certain words that are spelled certain ways. Like, I personally believe traveling is spelled with 2 L's, not 1. And my editor was like, well, it could go either way. She's in the UK, but she's an American, and you're an American. Your audience will be mostly American, so really you should put 1 L. And I'm like, don't care. It's 2 L's. She's in the UK. We're going with that. And she goes, well, then we're fixing the rest of it. And I said, that's fine.
Yeah, as long as you're consistent, right? That's
right.
Right. And that's the big thing. As long as you're consistent throughout, then, you can get a little later.
How does a reader know that you're an American? I mean, if by them reading your book, some people don't read the biography.
This is true.
If they're reading their book, reading the book and they're so engrossed in it, I don't think those little details are going to make
if
the
they're
story.
not following me on social media and it's a new reader and they just see it, then of course they're not going to know. But being the fact, I don't know, they explained something about algorithms and blah blah blahs that went way over here. I'm just like, no, I'll deal with that another day. But because I signed it up here through the US Amazon version, then it gets sent out more through the US because that's my people's. I don't know. I don't understand it, but I trust other professionals' judgments, and I just work with what I got.
Well,
Oh
and
my
at the
goodness.
end of the day, it is our manuscript, so we can take their advice, and hopefully it's good advice. But at the same
Which
time,
is why shit will always be spelled with a Y in my books.
Did
I
you say
can't do the
shit?
I. I don't know why I can't do the I.
So it'll be shite.
shite.
Is that what you're saying?
Well, there's no E. If there was an E, it'd be shite.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
true.
know. I'm weird like that. I'm weird like that. She goes, look, if you're going to have shit spelled with a Y, you got to have shitting also spelled with a Y.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Oh.
that just sounds weird to me, and I'm pretty sure I'll get knocked for it by somebody, but okay, let's do it.
Consistency.
Yes.
Speaking of manuscripts, so what are you working on right now currently? I know
Currently,
you just
yeah.
published a recent one.
Yeah, so I just published Diary of a Traveling Sex Worker, which is super fun, super flirty. It's
I
also
can't wait
women's
to
lit.
read it. I can't wait to
You
read it.
seriously need to. I love getting comments back from readers about delving into Darcy's lifestyle. It's pretty interesting. It's a lot of fun too. It's a fun read, um, definitely don't have the kids around. I've been told that. I've been told, you know, they need a
Not safe
few
for work.
showers here and there. I'm like, so sorry, but at least you're clean. I don't know. But so I'm actually currently working on book 2 because book 1 has been so highly received. So I was just straight on in. As soon as release day was done and over with, I was back on the computer starting the second manuscript, getting right into it. So I was trying to do that for Nano, but I'm selling 2 houses, buying another house, like
Oh
doing
my
all this
goodness.
stuff, repairs, things like that. You guys know how that process goes. So
Oh yeah.
the manuscript has been slightly delayed. I am not going to finish Nano. I got
All
like
right.
6,000 words for Nano this time. So I was like, you know
That's
what?
6,000 more than
Priorities.
you had before.
Yeah.
Right. And, priorities. So it's sitting on the back burner, but it is in progress. I am working on the sequel. So I'm hoping to have that out by my birthday, April of next year.
Nice.
Awesome. What
Cool.
about you, Christina?
I have my next book is with a set of readers right now. It's been through a couple, and it's pretty much straight up women's fiction. That one, it has to do with Alzheimer's, and it's a pretty, I guess, a family drama. I was told last night by one of my beta readers. She's like, "Yeah, this has got an ensemble cast. All I see is family drama right here." I'm like, "Okay, that's fine. I'll take it." But the other thing I'm working on is I've been so inspired by so many people, and I thought I have to try my hand at like some sort of sexy romance. And
Ooh.
I thought this is like, I've read them, of course, but writing it has been so much fun. I mean, so much fun. And
It's a lot of fun.
It really is. And, it still has a long way to go. But I thought, wow, this is kind of interesting. And it's still got I'm such an emotional person, and my character, every time I sit down, people be like, your characters are so real. So I'm still doing characters out the wazoo for this book, but it's just been, I almost say, freeing in a weird sort of way. It's still writing, but I don't know, lots of fun. So I'm working on those 2.
It's nice to mix it up, change something that you're not used to writing.
Yeah.
And that's why I love being a multi-genre author. I can just pick a story and just go with it. Any idea that pops in, let's just run with it. I don't want to get stuck in just one, I'm just this type of author. I want to be able to appeal to everybody and have something for everybody.
That's why I write, my voice, my particular voice, my strongest voice is in the realm of romantic suspense and thrillers. I love dabbling into that, but sometimes how my brain works, it gets a little dark. So I need something lighter and something loving. And even if it's hot and sexy loving, it's still more on the lighter fare of what I what I would write in the suspense and thriller category. So do you find that, when you get into a place that it's emotionally based, that you have to kind of pull yourself out and shake yourself off, what do you do to prepare yourself or get yourself out of that mood? Or into
Honestly,
that mood, I
for
should
me
say.
personally, when I write, I relish those moments. I let them just envelop me and soak it up, and I live it. I work through whatever emotion. If my character is going through this devastating time and, like the loss of a loved one, I will feel that to my core, because I recently just, I lost somebody. So
I'm
I feel those
sorry.
emotions. I work through it. I let it just take control, and it forms my writing. Like, my emotions form my writing. So if you're feeling it in the book when you're reading it, I guarantee you I felt it when I was writing it.
Yeah.
So no matter the emotion, whether it's hot, steamy times, because I will admit I had to take a break and, go smoke a cigar or something. Like, okay, girl, I got you. I hear you, and other times where I'm bawling my eyes out trying to see through the tears to finish a paragraph. But I live through those. I love those moments. And that's what helps me not only connect with my characters, but also helps my readers connect with them as well on a more personal level. Because I know
Almost
if I'm
definitely.
feeling it, then they'll feel something.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with that. Yeah. I would
What?
say the same. I mean, not to just say ditto,
No,
but
you're good.
that's it. I feel like, yes, I'm experiencing those emotions as I'm going through them. And there's been a time or two where I've said, in this moment, I think I need to step away, go get a drink of something, or, do something in the kitchen real quick, and then come back, because I wasn't quite ready to face that emotion in that moment. But I don't want
Right.
to lose that either. So if I walk away for the next half day or the day, I don't want to do that. But
Right.
Right.
Like, I
Right.
wrote this one scene in a former book where, they lost a child. And that, like, hit me to my core, because I'm a mother. And I rode through the scene. I wrote through it, and I suffered right there with her. And I tell you what, I actually put down my laptop at the time for 3 weeks after that. I was so devastated. I had to mourn the loss with her,
yeah,
and I just couldn't pick up and carry on the story after that, and for almost a whole month. So I 100% get that.
wow,
Yeah. I Same here. Not in a sense of losing a child. I like the perspective of the killer, because we were talking
Yes.
thriller aspects. So it's like I have one character of mine, and she was so wicked, but in such an enduring way. It's like by the time I was finished with the book, and I was like, whew, I could not shake her off. That's how intense her
That's
personality
awesome.
came out. So I had a few readers tell me, like, Lola, she is the shit with the Y. She is the shit. You know what I mean? So I was like, for a serial killer to come off that way, it's like, okay, okay.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's like, it took me probably a good week to, like, okay, it's time to go away. I'm done with you. You got no more. You're dead.
Your invisible friend needs to be tucked back in the head.
That's right. That's right. Oh my gosh. So, Allie, do you find your voice more towards the paranormal, like sci-fi, or supernatural, or do you like more? Because you said you recently just wrote the women's fiction. Do you feel like that's kind of where your voice is changing into?
I wouldn't say that it's really changing into. It's
I
more.
mean, all voices have developed.
I'm
They
trying to.
develop even more and more.
Yeah. I would say that my voice is just expanding its octaves. you know, if you want to get into analogies and stuff, but
Right.
I mean, I will always and forever absolutely love writing fantasy and paranormal horror. That's where I started. I started in fantasy. I started, and then the first branch was into paranormal horror, and I freaking love that book. It was my best nano book.
What was the name? What's the name?
So it was actually called Valiska Unraveled, and I have it right here. It's not currently out right now, but I'm gonna put it back out once I get it recovered. But it was about four authors who, for NaNoWriMo, went to a haunted location in Iowa to write their stories, and then things happened because it's a haunted location. And it was the funnest, coolest story to bring, like, this true life mystery into the author world and see how that plays out. So I love paranormal horror. I've always been a horror fan on movies, so I didn't know if I could write anything that would scare, because it didn't scare me to write the book. That's the one that didn't affect me at all. It didn't scare me to write the book, but I thankfully had some readers like, this is terrifying. Please turn the lights on. But I'm like, how did it scare you? This one didn't even affect me. And maybe it's because I will listen to horror movies to take a nap. So
Oh
it's
my
like
goodness.
a lullaby. I don't know, I'm weird. But I will always have a place in my heart, personally, for the YA fantasy and the paranormal horrors all the time.
Yeah.
So I just like to branch out, get my feet wet a little bit, try other things. And, I always just let it see where it takes me. So.
What about you, Christina? Have you ever decided? I mean, I know you wrote a woman's fiction, and you're dabbling into the romance end of it. Is there anything else that you want to get into?
Well, I have one of my favorite drafts is actually, I don't know what you'd call it, a crossover. It's a crossover between a fairy tale and time traveling Doctor Who like thing. So I guess it's sci-fi.
Ooh, yeah.
And that's YA, I would say. And I need to get back. I just love it. It's kind of morphed into this. Yeah. Anyway, so I have that. And I have another kind of contemporary YA. That's really sort of where I started. I mean, although Rewrite the Stars was the first one that I really got moving, I was thinking in terms of my kids and what they could write. So those other drafts have sat longer, but I do want to get back to them. I'm kind of like you, Allie. I feel like, and maybe like the two of you as well, it's just like there's a voice there. I have to go with it. And sometimes it happens to be a teenager, and probably because I have teenagers, but sometimes it's, a 40-something-year-old woman. In the next book, it's an 80-year-old man, but I don't know.
Absolutely.
I'll just follow the characters.
You gotta listen to the characters when they're yelling at you. I mean, you have to. I have many times stopped a current whip to switch over because somebody else was like, nah, move over, I got something to say, So,
that's why I have 4 or 5 manuscripts going on at the same time. It's actually crazy. I'm like, okay, I am a little ADHD, but I need to focus to get them finished. That's how I got onto the male romance genre. I love reading it. I love audibles, and I'm like, you know what? I would like to get into the genre, and so I did. I was fortunate enough to be in an anthology, and it didn't matter what type of genre or subgenre it was. So I'm like, this is my chance. This is my chance to get into it, and I love it. And from that one little novella, it sparked a series. So I'm going on currently. The book 2 is already out, and the first book is called 4 Days. Second book, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It doesn't go into sequence. I'm sorry, people. That's just how it works. So the second book is One Kiss, and the next book that's coming out, which is coming out in February, is called Two of Hearts. So, and it's a male, a Chance at Love series. So, and I love it. And I think I want to branch into that genre. And I can't speak more about it. I love that community and stuff like that. I love the romance community altogether. We're just a different breed of writers and stuff like that compared to the literary. No offense to them, but we're a different breed of writers. So my next question is, what is your favorite genre to read?
Okay, this is like a dirty, dark secret, so thankfully only a few are watching right now. I fell in love, as a teenager, I fell in love with reading. I would read my mom's books, and now she didn't have the Harlequins with the naked men on the cover, but she was obsessed with historical romance, and so I am obsessed with historical romance. I have shelves upon shelves filled with all of the authors, like Victoria Alexander, Julia Quinn, Lisa Kleypas. I have all the stuff, and that's my dirty secret. I have about 400 books of just historical romance novels.
Wow! From
Girl, my
past up to
library's big.
present. Wow.
My new house, pretty excited. One whole bedroom is actually being converted into a library with floor to ceiling shelves.
So nice.
That is
I'm gonna
awesome.
get my Beauty and the Beast moment.
Yeah,
So,
you
Yeah.
deserve it with all the hard work.
Yeah.
thanks.
What about you, Christina?
Well, what I find kind of funny in that maybe this was just like fated because I remember, you know, those, I have a banker's box sitting right here on the floor. Those banker's boxes, my mom would keep all of her romance novels in there, the little paperbacks. And she'd go and get them, and we knew they were in there. So when she'd go to work in the summers, we'd go in and I'd read those. And that's kind of, I mean, I loved reading from the time I was little, but that's where I thought, those were escape, you know, like there's a difference reading for school and whatever. So I
Right.
still, you know, when I do running on my treadmill and I read a bunch of romance on there because I don't have to think as much. I know it's a happily ever after. I'm just going to be happy while I'm running and while I'm reading. But I do still really like, I mean, because I write women's fiction, I do read a lot of women's fiction. And I do still read a lot of YA. I love going back, and high school was really difficult for me. We did not go well together. So I think sometimes I'm reliving my, you know, little high school years. But I
Living
just have,
vicariously through the other guys.
yes, yeah. And I just feel like, well, now I understand as a parent, especially as a, you know, what's kind of going on in their heads. And I just think that's great. So. But I'm open to anything. Since I work, well, that's not work. I volunteer for Literary Mama. I try to read pretty broadly, as broadly as I can. But, you know, we all have our little things that our go-tos. So
Most definitely. What about you, Rochelle?
Favorite genre to read? Well, definitely I like romance. I mean, but I'll pick up, I guess it depends on the cover, or I mean, I end up reading people I know book because I pick them up at different events. But when I'm just scanning and picking up something to read, I probably lean more towards the paranormal. And I mean, I don't mean like horror. I'm talking more fairy and dragons and things like that. And usually it's contemporary. It's but I mean, I enjoy sci-fi and actually I will read historical romance, but that is like the one, my last. I have to be like read everything else to go there, but it's just me.
I like, of course, I think I've already said it. I love the male romance genre. So anything, mostly anything that is pertaining to that, I really, really love. And then the next thing would be the paranormal. I love a good shifter story. Shifters, I fell in love with them. The very first book that I read, and don't quote me on, I have no idea, I can't remember the name of it, but and it was werewolves, and it was just like I couldn't put it down, and it was a series, and I don't know how many books it was, but I was like, oh, I just like devoured it. It was like the thing. I want to say the one genre that I cannot, I've tried because I've been in groups so like for contests. So I was a judge, and I really shouldn't be saying this, but it was just like the inspirationals. I fall asleep. After like within 3 words, I was like, it can't keep my attention. So I'm sorry. I know there's like fabulous authors out there that writes inspirationals, and they're New York Times, and I cannot get through a book that way, not without having to fall asleep. Double the caffeine for me.
I read one inspirational one and I can't remember the author, but it was very interesting because I'm an interior designer by schooling. And so what happened was she got this house, and it came with a program where she could like remodel, but instead of it took her from the past to the it took her back in time, and
wow.
what this house's history was for the program. And it was just like a sci-fi supernatural historical inspirational. It was very interesting, and they had to solve a mystery. And so even though there wasn't, there was a bit of romance, but it was a slow burn, and there was a series. And I haven't read I think I read the second, but at the time it wasn't finished yet. But I thought it was interesting because it was like back in time, solve a mystery about why the house is the way, what it was interesting. That was one that caught my attention just because it was different.
That's yeah, that is different. That's
And
like
I
a
can't
mixed
tell you
bag of genres.
the name.
Yeah.
You'll just have to try to search for it if you're interested. Because I have no idea. It might have been something about a treasure.
That would be one heck of a Google search.
Yeah.
No kidding. You'll probably come up with a lot, I'm sure. I'm sure a lot of books. I mean, because especially with the indie world growing so much, there's authors out there that are crossing the genre lines, and that's like when I first started. I didn't know my very first book. I didn't know where to put it because it has supernatural details in it, but it was like a romantic suspense. It was about the victim and the police officer. So there was that connection there, and that was the main focus. But the supernatural part, and then the thriller aspects of the serial killer coming in. So where do you put that on a shelf?
I can actually help with that because I had the same problem, same questions, and you want to go with whatever your main plot line is. Whatever that genre fits, that's where you market it. That's where you put it on the shelf as. Because, yes, lots of books, if they're written well enough, are going to have several different tropes, as they're called. They're going to have several different aspects. Like my debut novel, I call it a YA fantasy, but it's got all the paranormal stuff going on in there. It's also historical because it's set back in medieval times, So there's definitely going to be several different types of tropes you have, but if you've written it well and your main plot line, whatever that falls along, that's where you want to place it as on the bookshelf.
And that's exactly. I mean, you want to tell the publishers out there that says that, because they're like, we don't know where to put this book. You write really
they
well,
want to
and we
give me a
love the
paycheck.
story.
I will definitely do that all day long.
But we don't know where to put it, and I'm like, that's why I was like, I ended up getting picked up by a smaller publishing house because they did exactly what they said, that this is it's a romantic thriller. So, and all the other stuff is just added to it. So they went with the main genre. Oh my goodness.
The hard thing I had recently with moving into this new genre, I'll say, is apparently now it's very un-PC to say chicklet. But when I grew up reading, this book would fall perfectly into chicklet. It's fun, it's flirty, it's all about this woman discovering herself and taking back her own life, whatever. That to me is the epitome. Jeez Louise.
We're authors.
You know what I'm saying? It's literally what a chicklet book should be. But now I have to put it as, this is women's literature.
Right.
It also falls in the romance section. However, if you pay real close attention, it could very well be erotica with a really cool plot on the side. So I don't know, But
well,
that's why I love the term chicklet, because I'm appealing to that part of us girls that feels, we get the girl brain every once in a while.
Right,
like, overanalyze, overthink, like in the feels. That's what that is. And I love the term, but I understand it's like not acceptable anymore. So I'm trying to forget the term chicklet and move into women's literature. But to me, women's literature is so not, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just not what I do, I don't think. I think when I look at or think of women's literature, I think of, something that has a deeper emotional connection. Like you were saying, Christina, you have your next one's on Alzheimer's or something.
Right.
And it has this deeper real life kind of self-help almost, see the inner part of us type thing. Whereas mine is more like hey, let's get away from reality because this sucks. Hey, look, this could be fun. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's why I hate that genres feel restricting.
Mm-hmm. Well, I
don't want people to be restricted thinking, oh, well, it's just one way. It's not one way. You could pick up, one genre and have 4 different types of books in it.
Women's clit instead of women's lit.
There you go.
Lord.
That would be only coming out of Rochelle.
If I could market that way, I would. I'm telling you right now, Facebook has a problem with my cover because the word sex and the word worker are in the same sentence. I have had my stuff bleeped out because of it. So now if you see the cover, it'll either have asterisks over it if I'm marketing, or I'll put like the little eggplant and peach.
Yeah, that's smart.
I think back to dealing with Chicklet, that term has had some very negative connotation added to it. So, and I think that is why the publishing world wanted to kind of veer away from it. But in reality, what you're saying, Allie, it is absolute truth. You got 2 different genres that's going on. Women's literature is more in depth. Like, I'm not saying that Chicklet's not in depth.
No,
but
I know exactly.
It's a depth of emotions and the change that a person goes through. You know, it is personified in a woman's lit, whereas in Chicklet, you're dealing with emotional and the romance aspects of the lighter fare of read versus the woman compared to women's lit.
Hear the difference. Chicklet, it's kind of a cartoony, fun cover. It's about a girl recovering from a divorce or something, something traveling pants kind of thing, and then you get the Chicklet, and it's more Jane Austen-y,
with oh my gosh,
more
love
serious.
Jane Austen. But yes, I agree. It's exactly like that to me, and that's why, like, I know there's been negative connotations, and people look at things, in a different light, and you can't say certain things. Look, I'm all about taking back words. Okay,
exactly.
So I embrace Chicklet. I love Chicklet. My life, if I could, I would make it a Chicklet movie. I love that just fun, flighty, girl doing whatever the hell she wants type attitude. And there's just like another 4-letter word that starts with C that a lot of women don't like. Yeah. I love it.
I use
it's
it.
My favorite word. Absolute favorite word. Yeah. And I threw it into that book a lot. Because I'm all about, look, guys can't say it. No, guys can't say it, but I can definitely say that word because I have one. I love it.
Right.
So I'm all about that stuff and just like women's empowerment in writing, expressing ourselves however we want to type deal. I don't feel like we should be put in a box of how we should write or how we should promote or whatever. If you love Chicklet, if you love clit, if you love whatever, just
exactly.
say it, express it, advertise it. Who gives a shit,
I gotta say though, let's switch topics a little bit. Let's talk about paintings. So I read both your bios, but Allie, you also paint. So that's another creative way to express yourself. So what do you do? How do you do that process?
So here's a little bit. I actually did not start out as a writer. I was a landscape artist painter. So that's what I did. I had my own studio. I did landscape paintings. I had galleries and showings, was selling my paintings all the time, and it was going great. And then my studio flooded. Oh, no. And for a year and a half, I was dealing with all these renovations. And during that time, I went, I think, maybe a month. And I'm like, I need a creative outlet. I need to be able to do something. So I started writing my first book. And it took off from there. It was just supposed to be a one and done until my studio got back up. But it took off. People liked it. I enjoyed it. I kept going on.
That's because you're painting with words.
Yes, I am. I also do stained glass windows as well. But yes, cool. I love my paintings. In fact, the only one I currently have up, since I am packing and moving, you can.
Oh, that is pretty.
That was one of the first ones I ever did. But I like doing different landscapes and playing with oils and acrylics and things like that. And yeah, I feather in my cap. I sold a few to somebody in Wales and shipped them off. So
That
yeah,
is cool.
I
That is
haven't
very,
gotten
very
back
cool.
to it. I haven't gotten back to it. These books just won't stop.
Yes.
And once it starts in your head, it's like
The virus.
a virus. I didn't want to use the word disease, but virus is a good word. It's a virus, and you just can't get away from it, no matter. In the middle of the night, my muse wakes me up and it's like,
That's true. That's
I
why I
got
keep
something for
the
you.
little memo app on my phone. I keep
Yeah.
it right there on the home screen. If I'm laying in bed and something strikes, I open that memo phone and just type out the idea real quick and then, okay, phone's down. I'm not going to forget. It's a lot faster than trying to write in a notebook when I'm half asleep.
Yeah.
You wake
I've
up and you
done
don't
that for a
realize
long
what you were
time.
trying to write.
Exactly. So, Christina, how did you get started into the writing and into the writing world and stuff like that?
Um,
Was it just straight up editing, and then you decided to write, or?
So I'll try to be brief, but so when I was a kid, I loved to tell stories, and I think it came from my mom's love of books, and she would tell stories and all that sort of thing. But love my mom. However, a long time ago, when I was like, oh, maybe I'll be a writer, she's like, honey, you got to be able to support yourself. You need to think about what job is going to allow you to do that. So instead of going the writing route, I'm like, oh, I'll do science. So that put off writing for a very long time. Though when I got married, I was journaling every day. Then I went into blogging, and then I realized I'm like, I have these stories that have to be doing something. And a friend finally said, the Dayton area is really rich with writers, as Rochelle knows, and there are opportunities for learning things. And so finally, one of my friends said, I was like, just go take this workshopping class. You've been talking about writing forever. And so I did, and it just took off from there. And I tried to just say, no, I can't do this, but I can't. I couldn't. So, but I did realize partly that I enjoy editing as much as I enjoy writing. So, it's weird. I don't know. Revision for my own works is wonderful. I love that. I love revising somebody else's. And yeah, I don't know. I just feel like
I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. With the formatting, I love it. I love it. It's honestly, it really is like my passion right there with writing. I could sit there and format books all day long.
I enjoy the
keep that in
formatting
mind.
as well.
Yeah.
Please do.
So
I can't format to save my life.
I have actually formatted, besides the freelance formatting I do for other authors, every single one of my books that is out there that you ever see, I formatted every single one myself.
Wow.
I love it.
If you have the knack to do it, that's
well, and it was a trade-off, to be honest.
Yeah.
I had a friend. We were co-authors for quite a while. We did a series together, and we didn't know how to do anything. We both left that small house publisher together and decided, hey, let's just be friends and do things together. And she couldn't figure out how to format. And I was like, I'll figure it out. Why not? And then she figured out covers super easy. And I'm like,
there you go.
Dude, I don't understand this layering and blending, and I don't know how to do any of that. So it was a trade-off. Like,
that was good.
I would format all of her books, and she would do the covers for all of mine.
Wonderful.
You always got to find a trade-off.
Yeah.
That's fun. So if somebody out there is watching, what would you tell them where to find you and where to find your books?
So you can find me on Facebook and here on Instagram, author Allie Cole. I have 2 Facebooks. I have my, author page, author Allie Cole, and then just regular Allie Cole. I have no problem being friends with all my readers or new people. I love filling it up and getting to know new people. I'm a social butterfly, which is, I know, not the norm for authors. I love talking to people and getting to know new people. So you can find me anywhere on there. I have other accounts floating out in like BookBub and Goodreads. I don't remember the logins. So if you see me, it's a ghost of me. Never use them. But, you can always message me on either Facebook or Instagram and find me there. And all my works right now that I have currently out are on Amazon. Everything is on Amazon right now. I am exclusive to them. I used to be wide. I'm now just exclusively on Amazon. but the current book is also my first in KU.
Okay.
So
Nice. Nice.
That's good.
Yeah, and I guess I'm out there dabbling in so many things, I feel like, with social media, but I'm with Allie. I love hearing from people, even if they have an editing question, which people thankfully have just, said, I'll just send it to you. Most of the time, I have a website, so I'm at ChristinaConsolino.com, and then that has my social media links, but I think I've been most active lately on, well, I try to do it all, but you can't do it all. So Instagram and Twitter are both CM Consolino, and then honestly, I'm trying to remember what my Facebook author page is. I don't know. I mean, you can Google Christina Consolino. It's not that. I mean, there
It
are
comes
others,
up that way. It
but
comes up that
at
way.
least you're more professional, and you actually have a working website. I had one, and then I did some things to try and do the pen name switch, and I really fucked it up.
Yeah.
So if you guys see my website floating around like that, yeah, I think my Instagram page even says, come visit me on my website. Like, don't click it. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. I don't know what you're going to see on there anymore. So just, Facebook and Instagram's the way to go with me. I was raised really old school by my grandma. Technology, I may look like a millennial, but I don't understand technology at all. That's why I never did Twitter. I can never sum my mouth up in 140 characters or less. I just can't.
Also, when I asked you to give me a Twitter blurb every bio, and she's like,
I'm like, yeah,
I'll just
that's
send you
not
what
going to
I have.
happen. I'll just send you the bio, and you just take out whatever sentence you
And that's
want
exactly
to add.
what I did.
That's funny.
Now, are you going to be doing like author events? Do either of you do author events at all?
Before I did a pen name switch, I was doing lots of author events. I did lots of signings, conventions. In fact, a lot of my readers, fans, friends on Facebook, I met at PennCon in St. Louis a couple years back. I think I'm going to that one next year. I'm going to have to check evites now. I don't have really anything like going on right now, but I am trying to get back into it. Had nothing to do with pandemic and everything to do with like deaths in families and houses and selling and blah, blah, blah. And, all the move stuff. So it was nothing like that, but I would like to do a couple more conventions. I'm going to have to reorder everything since I'm just now getting back in with a new pen name after a 2-year break. So it's a headache. I wouldn't even have a banner right now. That's like super old and wrong name now. So I'm hoping to get an event next year, at least one. I'd like to start doing 2. At 1 year I had I think 4 conventions and signings, and it was too much. It was exhausting. Being a mother of 2 teenage boys.
I have 9 next year.
Yeah, I have 2 teenage boys, 1 special needs. I rescue Rottweilers, so I have 8 of those here at the house, scratching to come in right now.
Oh.
So I have a lot going on, and my husband is active duty military, and he actually just got back. So
Tell him thank you for his service.
Yeah.
Thank you. But we're almost retiring. We have this last move, and then we get to retire in less than 2 years. So I will be able to do more signings after that. But until then, I'm trying to stick maybe 1 or 2 until then.
That's totally understandable. That's hard. I'm an Army brat, so I know all about the move on the kid's perspective.
I was born and raised a Navy brat, 25 years.
There you go.
I was born and raised Navy. I went in the Army, then I married the Army. I just can't get away from the military, I tell you. It's that camo, I guess. I don't know. The good thing my husband took up hunting, so afterwards I'll still feel something. I'm kidding.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. This was a blast.
Wait. Christina didn't answer the question.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
No, that's okay. I was enjoying the conversation. So, I not the same, but I have 4 kids. 2 are in college, and I'm point person for my parents who are ailing health. So it's like I don't do too many signings, and plus I only have 1 book since I don't have a backlist. But I will say that two author
You just got
friends-
done with one though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The in-person one in Springboro, which was lovely. And two author friends that I have not met in person yet, but I hope to someday. We're going to do an Instagram live on December 8th, Wednesday at 7 p.m. So both of them, I've read their books, and we just connected. And we didn't talk about it, but I have to say it's so nice that I'm so sorry the pandemic came in. Absolutely. Hands down. But I have met a truly number of just memorable people because you're kind of forced to, get online and interact. And, so that's nice. On December 8th, we'll do that. So
That is very cool. Well, it is to the end. I want to thank you both. We want to thank you both. Okay. Yes. Go ahead, Rochelle. You're shaking.
Holiday.
I should just shut up and just sit here and let her finish.
Holiday.
Finish the show.
Holiday hoopla.
You go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Rochelle and I are doing Wednesday Coffee Clutching Holiday Hoopla, December 8th.
it's probably the 8th. Yeah.
It is the 8th. We're going to
We
have
signed up for that, didn't we?
a slew of authors, plenty of prizes, a lot of games. Please come join us. It's all day.
It's on Facebook, the WCC Authors and Readers Group.
Yes. We'll have it. You'll have it posted somewhere in here once it goes live. And thank you so much for joining us.
And I'll be putting this on YouTube.
On YouTube, yes. On
Thank you
YouTube
for having
too.
me.
Yeah.
For the masses. For the masses.
For the masses. Thank you. Have a happy Thanksgiving if you do celebrate with your loved ones and everything. And we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ladies, for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
We'll keep in touch.
Bye-bye.